And I too would like to extend a welcome to the Federation of Voluntary Service Providers and Service Users here this evening. ICTU recently announced the intention of SIP2 and FORSO and IMNO members representing Section 39 and Section 56 workers to initiate indefinite strike action from the 17th of October. It was announced 3 weeks ago, and I thought surely there was time to resolve this issue before we would actually go to strike. Because if this industrial action is not averted, serious hardship will befall families and communities, as these are workers who work in frontline services including health and disability, family support, looking after children, care of older people, homelessness, addiction services. Section 56 organisations provide services funded by TUSLA. I think there are at least 700 Section 56 organisations that provide service related to domestic, sexual and gender-based violence. Section 39 organisations are generally voluntary, non-statutory service providers responsible for the provision of personal social services, mainly disability services. There are around 1,900 organisations with Section 39 status, and they include Children's Disability Network teams, respite services, hospices, mental health providers, nursing home and home care providers, small community-based groups and social care services. We have examples such as Enable Ireland, Rehab Group, IWA. And this dispute over the disparity in terms and conditions is not recent. It has been ongoing now for over 13 years, dating back to a decision to reduce pay for those workers during the recession. While pay for the HSE and Section 38 counterparts have been restored, this has not been the case for Section 39 and Section 56 workers. The industrial action that is to start next Tuesday is an inevitable consequence of the government's ongoing refusal to properly address the disparity in pay and conditions for these workers. Workers in these sectors have now chosen to take this action because the state, as the chief funding body for these services, has failed to grasp the seriousness of the staffing crisis that they have helped to create. For instance, there are 707 staff vacancies in Children's Disability Network teams, according to the last HSE census taken almost a year ago. Now, I recognise they are not all Section 39, some of them are HSE. But the case is the Section 39 CDNT teams are hemorrhaging staff to the HSE, and it can't be sustained. We have over 10,000 children with disabilities waiting more than 12 months for an initial contact with a specialist team. We have more waiting for overdue assessment of needs. Respite, another service staffed by workers from Section 39 organisations. It plays an essential role in supporting family carers and disabled people, yet 3/4 of families are unable to get respite at all. There is now a significant and growing level of unmet need in terms of respite care, with less than 5,200 people receiving respite service in 2022. Despite an estimated 20,000 people or more with intellectual disability or physical and sensory disability or autism living with family. And it's getting worse. As fewer people received respite in 2022 than they did in 2018. And these are the sort of essential services that will be affected due to the government dragging its feet on this issue for years. Remember also we're in the midst of a cost of living crisis with increased prices for food and fuel and mortgage interest rates and so forth. Workers are having to deal with this, while they are on lesser terms and conditions than their HSE and Section 38 counterparts, who are often working next to them in the same building, same qualifications, doing the same work, with a pay disparity in excess of 10%. Workers do tremendous work to deliver vital services in the community, and they've been treated abysmally. The decision to take strike action was taken with a heavy heart, and it is an action of a last resort. And it's been a very difficult decision by the workers involved, who are passionate about delivering the essential services. It was fairly clear that the offer of 5% made by the government in July fell way below what was expected and would be rejected, as the pay differential is in excess of 10%. I raised this recently in the Dáil here with the Taoiseach, and in response he told me, "I do not think it's correct to say that the government expected the offer would be refused, because a very similar offer was accepted by the community and voluntary sector when it was put to a ballot. On this occasion, a decision was taken by the unions not to put the offer to a ballot of their members, and it was unfortunate that this did not happen." That is factually incorrect. All 3 unions carried out a ballot of their workers, and the report that the ballot returned showed a very high level of participation and overwhelming support for industrial action up to and including strike. The Government now has to engage seriously with the unions and make a sufficient offer that will ensure that this issue is dealt with and that disabled people and their families and the wider community will not be put through the hardship that this will inevitably cause. The organisations, as I said, are hemorrhaging staff to the HSE in Section 38. They already, in many instances, have to curtail their services because they cannot get staff to provide full service. And if the issue is not addressed properly, these essential services will close, and there will be an obligation on the HSE to step in and provide them themselves at a much greater cost to the taxpayer. So government inaction and delay has only served to put these vital community services at risk and leave Section 39 and Section 56 workers to feel as though they have no option but to withdraw their labour. So the Government offered workers a pay increase of just 5%. The reality is that the pay gap of some staff in Section 39 has been estimated to be approximately 15% less than staff employed by the HSE or Section 38 doing the same work. So a Sinn Féin government would engage seriously with the relevant trade unions. A part of our budget package, we allocated additional funding to provide for the outcome of such a negotiation. So I think the government need to act now, and I'm delighted to hear that your officials are engaging with DEPA, and I'm hoping that that will lead to serious discussions where a sufficient offer is put on the table to the unions for their workers. But I mean, families understand the need for strike, and they are supporting the workers in these organisations, even though they are dreading the thoughts of it because of the hardship it's going to bring. But they realise that if something isn't done to address this issue, the services will not actually be there for them very soon. And my predecessor, Caoimhín Ó Céallainn, actually brought forward a motion on this issue in December 2019. As I said, it was his last action before the Dáil was dissolved just after Christmas of that year. And it was exactly on this issue, addressing the pay disparity within the Section 39s. And Fianna Fáil supported that motion, Minister. So why now, when you're in government and have the ability to actually address the issue and solve it once and for all, can you not do it? So I'm begging you, please, make sure that this issue is dealt with as soon as possible. Thank you.